Right. So, Australian Nationals are on. So go watch that. But how could I not, right? We hit 1,000 subscribers this week, so we gotta do something. My local LGS had a restock of high seas, luckily, so we have one more box to open, which is fantastic, right? So we'll start with that. And then, of course, obviously, Super Slam announced. And then we have the Ira Armory deck was also fully revealed, if I'm not mistaken. That's also something to go over. I have taken a little peek at the cards, and there's enough stuff there, but not enough stuff there, right? It's like the Max Armory deck over again, but a little bit better. So, gold back. Last, all we're really searching for is amulets, right? Although I do also have these MTG packs that I do want to crack at some point, and I can't think of a better point than now, right? So we'll probably do that too, probably at the end or something like that, right? And then if we pull anything juicy out of them, because they are juicy packs, we'll probably just use it for more flesh and blood, in all honesty. Alright. So, I think Onyx and Platinum are the two amulets I'm missing. Aside from that, Majestic-wise, I ended up finding EA chums, so I don't need any more chums for a playset. But I still am missing, I think, 2 more rays. So, yeah. Majestic-wise, amulets or more ray. Otherwise, it's really just the gold pack that we're super interested in, right? We will speed through this altogether just because then, you can go watch the Australian Nats. Should be, in the more intense rounds, I believe, depending on how long we pace this. I can't remember when they started. It was either 8 or 9. So either an hour in, which is, round 1. And then we should finish by round 2 or round 3, right? So far... Oh, never mind. I was going to say nothing. Chart of High Seas. Foil. That's actually decent-ish, right? Given a quarter is still the big one, which is weird. I wouldn't have thought Given a quarter would be as good as it is, just because there's not... it's not, get 6 resources out of it. It's just put 2 allies into play, most likely, right? Which is still strong. But, whenever you have such big value presented on card and not actually hitting it, feels a little strange, right? Hooks would also be nice, because everyone is in desperate need of hooks, apparently. Barrage. Nada. Is my internet really going bad again? Oh, yeah, it is really going bad. Why is my internet going so bad? Let's try something, I think. Apply. Oh, in the green now. Oh, hopefully. See if it started still. But not like there's anything juicy to see just yet. I mean, 2M so far is not bad. That is something we do have to think about. I still haven't sat down to do the numbers, though. Because basically what I'd like to figure out is what the rates have to be in Super Slam for it to be equivalent to high seas. And, high seas in terms of trying to pull everything is not that great either. If you're just going off of, buying boxes and cracking stuff. The super rares will definitely be interesting, considering, there's 40 of them so far. I'm sure there'll be some legendaries, and I would assume there would be some specs, but if it's just 40, you need 3 ofs. God. We did get an Escalate. I have no idea what they'd have to do to make this good. Like, it's almost... It needs a specific hero, I think, right? Unless you just use it to deny draw. I could see that being the case. And technically, couldn't you just use it as a 1-life ping, right? They declare gold, you play it because it's an instant. And then they lose the life from the gold. But I doubt it's worth the slot for that specific reason. Blow in the water. Nothing else. Not so bad. I mean, I might as well do that so we can see it more since it's not a huge amount of ends. An EA would be cool. I think the only one I'm missing is King Kraken. I guess that'd be nice to find. Bam Bam. For a foil. That should be our 2 foils. Which means probably 1 more normal Majestic. And then whatever lurks in the treasure pack. Workshop. Yeah, because I wouldn't be surprised if that's lucky last. But you never know. Harpoon. No, bubble. And nada. Sorry, I'm still sick. Ugh. Been a real pain in the ass because lots of juicy information this week. And I know what I want to do, but I can't do it. The worst thing you want is to, make this worse. So I'm super flubby. Alright. Last 3. Oh, Herald. So we're definitely above when it comes to Majestic. And the expansion slot was definitely, aside from the Klloo, easy enough to get your set both. Hopefully that remains the case for Super Slam, given that's being doubled as well. Alright, lucky last. Murderous Raffle is actually kind of nice. That's a nice stack of decent chunk of M's, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in total. That's definitely the high end, right? 2 foils, nothing super standout. No amulets, unfortunately. Even just hitting like 1 amulet seems so difficult. Seems like they're, 1 or 2 a case. Alright. Full pack. Will it be anything significant? No. Starting off. Gold. And normal bubble. Mutiny. Yeah, meh. Oh well. Worth the lucky dip, right? We did so my armory had their 200th armory this week, and that was fantastic. 1 Marvel amulet was the big pull there, though. But still, that is pretty crazy, right? I think there's been enough of them showcased that they're obviously better than the like the serialized art cards or anything like that. But they are still exceedingly rare. But I'm glad they didn't number them. Alright, let's talk about everything new, I suppose, right? I can remember how to do this. There we go. Alright, so I think we'll start with the Iron Armory deck, actually, because there's some juicy stuff here. I want it to be a little bit better, but there's still some really cool stuff, right? So the equipment drops off. I was hoping for the usual M treatment, but you get Snapdragon Scalers. Okay. Can think of anything, right? Even just the God, what's the? Is it Tide Flippers for the combo one? That might have been better, right? Because there's a decent chunk of combo stuff here. But yeah, we can understand why it's just Scalers. Shrove of the Autumn's Fall, that's the other new one. I mean, it's a decent AB switch, right? I don't think there was anything else when it comes to AB. I mean, we can do this nice and easily. We go Fabry and we can go Ninja Equipment. Ninja. The Battle Worn. Play Break. Yeah, so that's now your AB slot. Which is kind of cool, but, you know, most likely it's still just Tunic, especially every 3 turns it's just a free Edge of Autumn. But I don't think there's truly enough here for Ira for Edge of Autumn to be that great. It's questionable whether or not it works with Katsu, right, with the naming cards. But at the end of the day, you could just take the naming cards and some other combo shenanigans and just, you know, name, right? I don't know if they're better payoffs, though, than the overall Katsu combo cards. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some cool stuff here, right? So, Robe of Autumn's Fall, when an Edge of Autumn you control hits, you may destroy this if you do gain a resource. So, you know, if you name a card Edge of Autumn, you can gain a resource off of it, but it's single use. I feel like they should have just made a Majestic, given it a couple charges, and it would have been fine. Didn't have to be, you know, comparable to Bloodsplat Vest or Tunic, but, you know, 2 charges. I mean, 3 charges would have been nice, right? And feels like that's sort of fair as a, you know, some sort of competing piece, so oh well. And then we have the Arcana Scar Wraps and our Iris of Blossom, which I still really like. I just don't think there's enough pieces for them to, you know, really work out, right? Like the Scar Wraps, all your opponent then has to do is just deny your vengeances, and cutting out Edge of Autumn seems like a big deal is Ira, right? So that's a little unfortunate because there's no other way to get Edge of Autumn. There's no, you know, equip another sword. You can equip daggers with Concealed Blade, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame that they didn't think that through, right? That it's all just tied to vengeance. And then the vengeance cards themselves, there's not a huge amount, right? I was expecting at least one color set, and the closest we get is a red, blue, I think, right? So we have Enact Vengeance as sort of a finisher, right? CNC Light, right? Which you can still just take as, again, Katsu, name Edge of Autumn. Seek Vengeance, right, is the one that comes in 2 colors. Yeah, so there's no yellow Seek Vengeance. I assume it'll pop up eventually. But we have red and blue. So our Pitch Ball, right? The nice thing is these do activate the Harmonized. So if we ever do get more naming cards in the future, maybe. But yeah, Seek Vengeance, if Edge of Autumn was the last attack, this Combat Chain, this gets go again. It's a nice 0-4 go again. But it also has to eat your Edge of Autumn charge, if you will, right? Because then you can't feed Edge of Autumn into the other cards that want Edge of Autumn. Makes it a little awkward. Aside from that, we have ourselves the other Seek Vengeance. Vengeance never rests, so if Edge of Autumn was the last attack, this Combat Chain, this gets to go again. And when this hits a hero, banish it, so you may play it this turn, right? So you get to replay it. It doesn't have the wording like Double Strike, it has the wording like Devotion Never Dies. So you can keep playing it as long as you go Edge of Autumn this, which, again, isn't really an Ira thing. It's more of a Katsu thing. Maybe you're lucky and you get the twice, right? So you go Edge of Autumn, you play this, you Okinawa, get rid of your Edge of Autumn, this hits, and then you get Edge of Autumn back to swing again and go into this. That would be 4 resources for 1-5 because of Ira's ability. Which means you're de-incentivized to even use the Scar Wraps on the first Vengeance Never Rest trigger, right? Which means you're not banishing Edge of Autumn, which means you're not re-equipping it. It seems like if you had 2 weapons to shuffle, like Syndra, it would have worked out a lot better to me. But yeah, it's still a cool card. It's blue, right, which is definitely really strong. And then the other one, Legacy of Ikaru. Target ninja attack gets +1, and when this hits, if Edge of Autumn was the last attack, this combat chain, draw a card. So Ancestral Empowerment Light, right, with the conditional clause of Edge of Autumn. Other than that, same but in blue, right? So these being in blue is definitely really, really cool, right? But yeah, I don't think there's enough to make Edge of Autumn worthwhile, right? There was a new Edge of Autumn and it was a 2, maybe, but it's just as a 1 that you're trying to re-equip through how many cards? 3, 6, 9, 12 cards. It's very rough. I was hoping for at least 1 every turn, which means 15 plus in terms of, you know, trying to draw them. And then, you know, breakpoint wise, you have this through Ira's ability, this in base, Enact Vengeance. It's more of a closer anyway. So yeah, It's a good start, but it needs a bit more. As per usual, it seems like with the majority of armory decks, aside from like the Aurora one, that had just the really overtuned goodies. But again, that was shown to be a printing error, right? The wording error, final check error, whatever you want to call it. And then Give and Take is the other Majestic slapped in here. I would have much preferred just a new Majestic. I could have just made it like a Give and Take effect so that you could get your Vengeance cards back, but oh well, Give and Take it is. Again, as Ira, your hits don't matter so much, especially if we're trying to take Iris. I mean, they matter a little, but not as much as Give and Take. I suppose Give and Take's nice enough in that aspect, right? Where it's a bittersweet to your opponent. If they block it, you get a card from your graveyard to the top of your deck. If they don't block it, you get to use Iris. Then they're just prepared for whirling this blossom itself, because its breakpoint is also not really there. So yeah, it's an interesting deck, but probably not good enough. All right, that leaves us with Super Slam. Big new set, right? I'm not super invested in the trailer. It's cool. It's not my cup of tea. But the art and everything looks fantastic to me. Right, so we have our talent being Revered and Reviled, right? Heroes and villains. Then we have 2 Guardians and 2 Brutes apiece, right? And, sorry to say, but these 2 to me are just way cooler, right? So, Tough Nut being 3 intellect, and then being able to pitch the top card of your deck is just, I don't think, good enough, in all honesty. Unless he just has a super huge amount of cheap cards, right? Because it's going to be so rough when you want to do it and you hit, a red. And then all of a sudden your turn falls to pieces because you were hoping for at least a yellow, right? But we'll have to see. Maybe they give a lot of, when this gets pitched, do something similar to the Fables. But I doubt it, considering that seems like a Fable restricted mechanic, right? And then Lias. So this is the big one to me to really talk about, because he's either going to be obviously awful or just broken, and it seems like he's leaned towards broken. So the base power and block of cards you control are halved, rounded up, so 5 becomes a 3, the 2 becomes a 1, right? 3 becomes a 2, that's probably the big one for the blocking side. And then instant pay 2 tap, the crowd boos you, defending action cards you control get +1. Block this turn, and I mean, reflexively, there's no, decision point there. It's just something you're always going to use on your opponent's turn unless they have... No, because even going into your opponent's turn, they have no way to tap you. And then if there are more cards that allow you to tap a hero, it's instant, so you just use it reflexively anyway. But essentially, in a fatigue deck, you're getting 5 cards anyway because you have 5 intellect, right? So yes, they are halved, but you can essentially pitch a blue, float 1 resource, which then can go into something with a, premium of block to it. Right, and then you're getting the +1 to all your 3s that are 2s anyway, because 1.5 is rounded up. Go back to 3s, so you're still then just a normal full hand sense. But then, of course, we do turn off your hero ability card, right? Which can be used on yourself. So target hero loses and can't gain abilities this action phase unless they discard a card, right? So you don't have to discard a card, but you can switch off your halving mechanic. So you could basically use this, float 1 resource, have a 4-card hand where you're now blocking 4 apiece, and then have that 1 resource to go into something with a premium block, right? So that's, 3-card hand because you're playing Lias Charm, which, yeah, still seems like great value. Plus then you get the steal and the booze you in case there's any triggers for that. So actually get 2 booze. So I don't think we've seen anything where the amount matters. It's just usually a check, right? So yeah, to me, he works in fatigue. He works in just playing normally because you have a lot of auras that just give huge amounts of pumps, right? So having the base halved isn't super huge. I mean, you could send a 2 snatch. No, they're all Guardian stuff, aren't they? The auras. Like, it's not next attack, it's next Guardian attack. I mean, still, you could send your weapon, right? Just being pumped. Or are they the majority of them Guardian attack action card? Either way, you can get around the base by the fact that you have 3 extra resources to go into one of those fairly big pumps, right? So, yeah, we'll have to see how he turns out, but... actually, no, there you go. The 2 boos, you get might tokens as well to go into your turn. And then that basically discounts the halving, because you get the +2, right? So, yeah. We'll have to see. But he definitely looks like the front runner to me, until we know what's going on with, like, the auras of suspense, I don't really like KO. I feel like 4 seems ungodly awful, but I guess we'll have to wait and see, right? There'll have to be cards that you want to make into at least a 6. Surely. Surely it's not just... what's the purpose? Just a flopper? Yeah. But the Vig is nice, right? Especially if you can rack up a ton of them. That would definitely help with this base 6. I mean, I suppose converting, a 0-cost card into a 6 is kind of cool, right? Anyway, they seem real fun and interesting. We'll do this a little bit more properly, right? Now that I've gotten those thoughts out. I don't need you anymore. Don't need Ira anymore. So, can you hear it? The crowd cheering your name, erupting into boos. Return to the Deathmatch Arena, which I think should just be the title instead of Super Slam. The Super is obviously because, Super Rares are returning. But, yeah. I guess Slam because it's Guardian and Brute, right? They have cards that Slam. Well, no, Deathmatch Arena would have been a cooler title. For the nail-biting, gut-punching, death-defying show of a lifetime, Super Slam. Releasing September 26th, Super Slam pits Guardian Brutes against each other in a sensational smackdown with no weapons, which is definitely also a very interesting point. Where was it? I think it was in the product pages. There's a further breakdown of what's in everything. I don't think there's any new information for the Armory deck, though. No. So, for the pre-release pack, comes with 5 gold foils, which is an interesting tidbit, or thought, right? So the thought is, you got your 4 equipment, like ICs, and then I'd laugh if it's just a weapon, but, it's most likely like a macro or something that's in cold foil that allows you to, swing in some sense with your fists, which will be interesting. I wonder if there's, any balancing sense for KO, only having 1 arm, right? You can only use it once, while everyone else can use it twice. Draw on the crowd's respect as a revered hero and breaks the Reviled roll, and whip him into a frenzy with dirty tactics. And then the first hero ever with 5 intellect. If you want to bring the pain to the gaming tables, feel the rush of opening stone cold foils. Stone cold foils. Why do I feel like that should be stone cold foils? Anyway, be the best there is, the best there ever was, the best there ever will be. Get into the ring. Yeah. Yeah. The thematic being pushed through all the wording doesn't do me. But, again, it's the normal sort of... It's actually probably a bit grittier than Heavy Hitters was, right? Minus the super res. So, guard preview, start of September, world premiere, mid-start September, calling, mid-start, then mid-end the pre-release, and then end the actual release, right? And just like Gravy, you can pick up the Armory deck at your pre-release, or starting from your pre-releases. Okay, so we have the crowd cheers. Whether a good-natured underdog or a superstar, bursting with confidence, revered heroes are adored by all. They fight tough but fair, building an aura of suspense, keeping the audience on the edge of their seats until they make their ultimate comeback. But so far, the aura of suspense seems like a Pleiades thing, also, right? Then Tough Nut. So, is this zoomed in enough? I'm sure you can read it. Instant tap, remove a suspense counter from an aura you control. You may put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. So, again, my big hope with this, and the fact that it's removed a suspense counter from an aura you control, is you can basically stack up your Guardian auras and then use suspense counters to stop them triggering, which would definitely be bittersweet because play something to do nothing doesn't really work well in Fab, right? It's probably a game where, well, no, I'd say Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually worse, but it's up there as one of the games where every card you play has to have an immediate impact. It's why Contract does so badly, because doing something to the top of your opponent's deck is not a big deal versus doing something to their hand or arsenal, right? So yeah, definitely be cool to be able to just stack up all these big buffs for a huge turn, but other than that, I don't know what an Aura of Suspense itself would do, right? Unless that starts with the counters, you move counters from the Aura of Suspense to another Aura, and then you use Pleiades to control when you want to trigger them. Although, in saying that, you can only remove a Suspense counter, right? So you can only use one, you could only sort of save one if this is the gimmick that they're going for. And again, given the wording and everything, it's what definitely comes to mind for me. And then we have whenever the crowd cheers you, you get to create a confidence token, which we also have no idea what it will do, right? So we have might, agility, vigor, toughness is obviously going to be some block variant of that, but confidence? I don't know. Yeah, no, nothing comes to mind because that's the 4 elements, right? Resources, go again, or action points, right? +1 on power, +1 on block. So yeah, no idea what suspense could be. Then Tough Nut, Bumbling Hulkster, instant tap, pitch the top card of your deck. If it has 6 or more power, the crowd cheers you. And then whenever you get cheered, you get to create a toughness token, right? And again, toughness to me would be a +1 block, probably just the first block, and just triggers at the start of your opponent's turn. Again, just carbon copy of the other 3, right? Is fitting enough to me. But yeah, 3 intellect, but the ability to pitch the top card of your deck. So defensively, that's not worth much unless you have a huge way to opt and look, right? So maybe they give you something like a Gravy's Compass, but I doubt it, so that you could, plan around defensively. Otherwise, it's just real hardcore brute. Swing, 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 right? And then again, as long as you hit the right card on the top of your deck, your turn's fine. Yeah, undervalued for resources, it'll be a bit rough, but we do have cards like this, hopefully, right? Crowd goes wild. So if you've been cheered this turn, this costs 3 less to play. So a 0 for 6 is pretty cool. A yellow 0 for 6 is even better. So yeah, as long as that's easy enough to trigger as Tough Nut, right? It's basically pitch the top card of your deck to send into a weapon, yeah? And then Crowd Goes Wild or some other cheap attacks that you can use. But you do really want to, hit the 6s because Crowd Cheers gets you that defensiveness, right? Because losing cards, to play, to even just block a single attack to your opponent is definitely going to be damning to your turn. So hopefully everything gets worked out and balanced, but I would assume he's probably the weakest of the barrel currently, unless we see, a whole bunch of cards that synergize with it. Comeback Head, when this attacks hero, if you have less life than them, the crowd cheers you. And if you've been cheered this turn, this gets +1. I wish this was a repeat trigger, but, it's a rare, so I guess it's not really meant to be super strong. But a 3 for that 8, and going down the color schemes, is fine, right? And then the crowd cheers you can definitely lead to something good, a toughness token or a confidence, again, depending on what they are, plus then triggering other cards. Alright, crowd boos you, so dirty cheaters or bullies with a big mouth. Reviled heroes will do anything to rile you up. They lie, cheat, and even steal their way to victory, breaking the rules while intimidating both their foes and audiences alike. So, like Goldmane, I'm going to run over him, but again, base power and block of cards is halved. Then you have instant pay 2 tap. The crowd boos you, and then defending cards you control get +1 for the turn. So that basically counteracts the halving mechanism because it's always rounded up. So a 3 becomes a 2, right? Use your ability, goes back up to a 3. And then you have 5 intellect to go along with that. And then whenever the crowd boos, you get a might token. So yeah, definitely all about the buffs, right? More so than just the base cards you're using, which can lead to some really, really fun deck construction ideas, right? Where you're powering up something that usually doesn't really see much play. KO, the underhanded cheat. You start the game with 1 weapon zone, right? Still missing his arm. Instant, pay 4, tap, target attack action card you control has 6 base power. So, discard-wise, you don't get the trigger, I believe, right? So, useless for that. So, it's basically just, I guess, an attack reaction type style card where if you're playing something less than 6, you get a pump. But I assume you still want all the normal brute, hit your 6s. So, very, very curious to see how this ends up having significant value, right? But the big one to me is whenever the crowd boos you, get to create a vigor token. So in that sense, you get to stockpile a whole bunch of resources. Just have a real big turn, right? So yeah, if you're getting, 2 boos off, then awesome. 2 vigor to start your turn, and that definitely goes a long way in brute shenanigans. Bully tactic. This is just a crazy majestic to me. When it's attacks hero, you may pay up to 3 and then intimidate them that many times. So pay 3, intimidate 3. So a 3 cost, get rid of 3 cards from their hand, send to 3. Now, KO, probably a bit underwhelming, right? Because you won't have any ways to really buff it. You can convert it to a 6, which I guess is kind of cool. But as Lyeth, right? As, again, 5 intellect guardian, where you're setting up all these big pluses, as long as, again, they can hit bully tactics, because it's not guardian, it's just a reviled action attack. But yeah, with that premise in mind, making this huge to then just give your opponent 1 card to block with is pretty crazy. Well, maybe 2, right? With defense reaction in the arsenal. Blocking blow, 0 cost. When this attacks hero, if you have more life than them, the crowd boos you. And if you've been booed this turn, this gets +4. So a 0-5 is definitely cool, right? But you have to have that boo, or you have to be higher life. Now, Super rare. So, coming out of retirement for one night only, super rares. Now, I would assume this is more so just for the mentality sake of next set won't have super rares, set after that won't have super rares. But I would say if they're willing to do this, then it's definitely on the table, right? As being able to be returned. So fingers crossed, because I would definitely like super rares returned. I mean, as long as they do well in this set, I assume they'd, be more inclined to throw it in, 3 sets down or something like that. But 40 different super rare signature moves to bring into the ring. Super Slam is packed full of exciting, explosive gameplay, full of sealed and booster drafts. So there's 40 of these like cards, right? Which is definitely kind of crazy because these are pretty cool right off the bat. I'm not big on the art, right? The naming, but they're title cards, announcer cards, whatever the term is. So Pletus is choose any number, destroy Might or Vigor token. So you can destroy Lions or KOs, right? Token generation. Crowd cheers you. Again, general trigger for everything else. And return an aura permanent you control to its owner's hand, right? So definitely a whole bunch of aura play for Pletus. Numbskull Charm, choose any number, destroy Confidence or Might. So interestingly, that targets our Pletus or our Lion, right? But he doesn't want, I guess, fight his kin, right? Crowd cheers you, and then pitch the top card of your deck. If it has 6 or more, create a Vigor token. So a nice way to double pitch, right? So you get to use Tough Nut's ability, and then you get to use this as well. And then hopefully you can send something really strong with your 2 remaining cards. I'm hoping he gets a real good weapon to back everything up, because he seems like he needs it, right? I know Rock is the main thing, and maybe they've built him entirely around it, but a Rock-like weapon with a slightly easy activation, maybe? But yeah, I mean, you hit 2 blues? No. Is Rock 3 or 6? I don't know why I was thinking 6. It's 3. It's just because of the impossible task. So yeah, with Rock, between this and then his ability, you can definitely land it, right? Lion's Charm for Lionth. Steal a Toughness or Vigor token. So stealing from either KO or Tough Nut, right? So not targeting Pletus, interestingly. And then the crowd boos you. And then targeting hero loses and can't gain abilities this action phase unless they discard a card. So you can either switch off your opponent, or you can just switch off yourself, right? So you can use his ability, gain the +1, and then switch him off, right? And then nothing's halved anymore. So that's definitely really cool. And Cheater's Charm for KO. Steal a Confidence or Toughness token. So he's not returning favor to Tough Nut, right? So he's stealing from either Pletus or Tough Nut. And then the crowd boos you. If you control an attack with 6 or more power, deal 2 damage to a target hero unless they discard a card. So that definitely works with his ability. But again, the 4 resources is what is really throwing me off when it comes to him. Because 4 resources for his ability seems definitely awful, right? 4 for 6. I mean, it's what? It's 4 for 4 with Marlin, and even that's a bit rough, right? So yeah, and it's not a clean 6 either, because most likely might hit a 3 or a 2 or something like that, right? Yeah. I have to see. They must have something in store for him. Then for the promos, right? Cold foil of all the super rares, the main ones that we've seen here, along with the art card. It's a shame though. I wish this was with the Hunted. I was hoping since the Hunted, because the Hunted one was really nice. Alright, I guess not my dog. He's had surgery and he keeps mouthing the wounds, which is not good. Bad boy. But yeah, we didn't get one for high scenes, right? There's no art card in general. But now the Super Saiyan one's at the world premiere. Aside from that, the other promos that are new, here we are. We have Bask in Your Own Greatness and Dig In. We'll zoom in on these, right, since they're a bit small. Alright, so Bask in Your Own Greatness, 0 cost. When this attacks, you may pay up to 3. Create that many might tokens. So a 0-4 or a 3-4 that gets you 3 on your next turn. Definitely interesting. The 2 block kind of ruins it, but oh well. And then Dig In, more fairly standard, I suppose. When this defends, you may pay 3, create that many toughness tokens. So again, if we're assuming toughness is is 1 block value per, then pay 3 for those extra block value. Although again, my assumption is it will trigger at the start of your opponent's turn. Again, similar to the other heavy hitters tokens, so it's not an extra 3 block in that case until the following turn, which can definitely be nice to set up, right? It means you can go. Well, it means you can keep more cards on the following turn and just, bide your time a little bit. But on that, a 7 and a 6 on the yellow, red. I kind of wish it was an 8, right? especially because, you want to defend with this. So if it was a 4 and 8, and then that way you could take any of the colors in Tough Nut, I feel like that would be a little bit better. But other than that, you can take the red and yellow and still trigger. I mean, he's not as penalized as a lot of the other brutes, right? So, yeah, I suppose you can still just take the blue. You can take your 5s, you can take that, and if you don't get the cheer trigger, it's not the end of the world. But I do think you want to really hit the cheer trigger. On that, we have our pre-release kits, right? So it's now in a kit form for Super Slam. So you can pick it up and you don't have to stay in store if you want, right? You can play at home, which is definitely a nice, cool twist, right? So yeah, it's definitely fun to obviously participate in the pre-releases, and they're pretty big events for Flesh and Blood in the scope of Flesh and Blood. But it is nice to have the kits, right? Have that flexibility to just pick one up, and there'll probably be extra stock, so you can pick them up, you can keep them, hold on to them. Oh god, now I have to think, do I want to hold on to them? I do like collecting the odds and ends, right? Like the armory decks and the once off around the table. I didn't do the bundles because they're just been all over the place, right? And I guess we're not seeing bundles return either, right? But this, probably not, right? But yeah, so stores will have the option to sell excess, which is definitely nice. Makes it a bit cleaner as well for their ordering. Although I suppose having extra, boxes wasn't a bad thing, especially, with ICs. But yeah, these are definitely nice, right? So each pre-release kit comes with 8 booster packs, right? And then your little promo pack of 5 cold foils and 4 basics. I think the other nice thing that this salvages is, so my local LGS, their pre-release, they did right bang smack on the day, and they didn't get the promo kits. It was awful, right? So this definitely helps salvage that. The pricing though, I suppose is something I haven't looked at. $60. $60 for 8 packs and your promos. What's that? Oh god, I can't do 60 by 8 in my head at the moment. I can't. 8 is 48. 8 tens is more than that. So call it $9. 64 would be no 8 eights is 64. So 7? So about it's about on rate, right? Yeah. Plus then you get the promos. That's mostly fair. I can't remember what the last pre-release was. Yeah, so 750 a pack is what it works out to. Australia, right? But I would assume there's still, obviously on top of that, the normal entry fee and everything. Interesting. Aside from that, all right, the big stuff, the product configuration. So Super Slam, the experience slot features a whopping 31 cards, right? 31 cards. We assume they stick to the Majestic trend. Although, if they add rarity within the expansion slot, I think, God, that would do me in. I think that'd be an awful decision, right? They couldn't, because they've also cut this set down back to 1 basic card. So it couldn't be, something you're getting a lot more often. But yeah, it's 1 in 6. So I assume, again, it's just all Majestics, because basically this has been doubled and this has been halved in terms of the pull rate. But 31 should hopefully mean we get a good plethora of cards for, a lot of heroes across the board, which would definitely be nice, because that's one of the big things for me is the expansion slot is just too slow in terms of the scope of the heroes we get and the growth of that side of the game, right? So it's just not enough, and if one's a miss, then that's huge, because that class or that hero might not see another card for a few sets, right? So hopefully, getting 1 to 2 cards each or something like that would definitely be a bit cleaner. But I also assume this is going to be, similar to the earlier expansion slot where we got, a whole string of armor pieces, like Assassin got the Widowmaker set, right? So maybe we just see a whole bunch of support for one of the lesser heroes, which is still not a bad thing. But overall, just more cards dedicated to it means more of an ability to pump up certain heroes, which is definitely a good thing, right? So aside from that, usual Legendary, Marvel, and Cold Foils are in there. No treasure packs, the Cold Foils are back in the box, right? I assume it's just a special thing, and maybe we see it again, but it was probably just to go along with the James White cards, the Marvels, and everything to pad out the pool, make sure it was something decent. Although I think they hit the commons on the head, right? Because the commons have a decent value associated to them now. I think Rust Belt was like $20, $30 or something like that, right? But yeah, Cold Falls is back in the box, so opening your box is a bit more fun and interesting, right? Like the High Seas box we did at the start of this. I didn't really care what was in the box. It was mainly just for the gold pack, in all honesty. I mean, getting, something that I'm missing would have been great, but I'm hardly missing anything at this point. All right, and then the booster configuration. So we do want to compare this to High Seas, in truth. So we'll grab up High Seas. But in essence, from memory, right, the rares down, super rares are obviously up. They're new-ish, right? And the Majestics are down as well. But compare it. Bench slots first. Ooh, where's the... Oh, it's right here. It's the same layout. All right, so 265 to 276. So not a huge bump in cards given the amount of new cards, which is a good sign, right? It means less filler overall. Basics 18 to 14, so there's just less basics, which I assume goes to... God, what do we have? No, we didn't have that many tokens either. We had cogs, gold, and harpoons. Ugh. That's potentially heroes then. Back to being Majestics. That'd be a curious thought. Maybe they're rares, right? Like Klloo. That'd be a bit better. But 14, because we already know there's might, agility, vigor. Well, no, they haven't said agility. There's confidence, toughness, might, and vigor. That's the 4 that we know of. I assume it being, maybe it is, Deathmatch Arena, we'll see agility. Right? Agility seems like it has fair play in all of them. Yeah, Guardian probably benefits from agility, but it was the warrior brute thing, wasn't it? Right? Maybe we don't see that, but that's 4 basics there. 1 weapon apiece, that's another 4. So that's 8. The heroes, that's another 4. That's 12. That leaves 2. I guess, yeah, just 2 other tokens. But the big one. So common to commons is about the same, right? 127 to 134, slightly more, but 40 rares, 40 super rares, 42 majestics, but the majestics, right? 31 the expansion slot, or at least we assume 31 is the expansion slot. So it's really 11, 40, 40, right? So that's a huge difference because this minus the expansion slots, right, is still 32, right? So we go from 32 down to 11. But then the rares as well go from 64 down to 40. So the super rares are definitely, like cards that maybe should have been majestics, right? Now rares, super rares, and then rares that were probably on the higher end are super rares as well, which is definitely nice, right? It should definitely be the top end of the rares and the bottom barrel of the majestics, right? The majestics across the board should be easier to collect, but also more impactful to me. So yeah, cutting that down immensely does also maybe make me think that it will just be a clear cut. We go back to the welcome to Rathe rates, right? So for reference, red good enough, red's good enough. Welcome to Rathe was 1 in 12 for the Majestics, right? And 1 in 6 for the super rares, right? So if we go back to that, it's not the end of the world. Nice and simple, just times it by. So 12 by 11 is 121. Good, perfect, sounds to me. And 60 by 40 is 240. Right, so to see a non-repeating single copy of everything, we pull out the randomness and do it on a community aspect, right? Would be 121 packs. Did I do that right? Yeah, 121 packs and 240 packs, right? For High Seas, what did I say? 46 minus 14, so 32. So 32, and the rate was 5.9, but we'll call that 6. So 32 by 6 would have been 12 and 80, 192. Right now, that should mean that the Majestics are easier, but the super rares are harder, right? Fine, but a greater amount of super rares you don't care about. That's actually a big difference though, because then we multiply it by 3. So a difference of 70 means that's a difference of 10 cases, roughly, right? Wow, that's actually awful. Difference of 10 cases per playset of Majestic. Right. Take it back. That's why I want to look into the numbers, because that is a awful outlook if we just go to the welcome rate. So yeah, here's hoping that's not that. Otherwise, yeah, the Majestics are... Whoa, that's so many packs. Other than that, no price increase. 15 cards instead of 16. And then the usual sealed 8 packs, draft 3 packs, right? So nothing's changed there. No extra cards? There's less cards. 26 and 5. What's missing? Oh, interesting. There's one Marvel that's only in the English version. So there's 8 heroes, right? Young and old. That leaves 6. 5. And one this... Wow, that's kind of a giveaway. So one of the Marvels is a token. What do we say? There's... Oh god, now I gotta do the pen again, right? There's 4 heroes for the tokens. We call it 8 if we include the adults, right? We know there's 4 tokens so far, and we assume there's 4 weapons. So that's 12. That leaves 2 tokens spare. And Marvel-wise, there's 8 Marvels. That one's a bit high. There's 8 Marvels for the heroes. That leaves 6 spare. So if we say the essentially the tokens are Marvels, which, you know, we're seeing the Seismic Surge in the Mastery Pack. I assume we see Seismic Surge, right? It'd be weird not to have it at all in the set for Guardian, because it's such a cool thing. Maybe we don't. But yeah, so I guess my mind for the Marvels would be on just the heroes and tokens, which would probably make them pretty lackluster, right? Really only adults is what people will care about. I don't know if anyone's super invested in these heroes. And they look, again, they look really cool to me, right? And these are the adults. Like Rathe. Just looks like a, you know, evil gremlin on top of his stone lion. This is actual lion or stone lion? Because it looks very greyish. But I would assume it's meant to be. No. He's up on his like podium or something. I assume looking over the arena. Maybe it's his actual line. But yeah. I think that's it. The Pleadus Armory deck, we do know what type of cards are on there. Actually, I suppose we can compare this to the what we ended up getting from Ira. So the Pleadus Armory deck. The bottom, here we are. Right, has 13 Majestics, 6 Super Rares, 21 Rares. So, you know, first we convert them into copies. Right, so that's 2 Super Rares in actuality. I would assume there's no new rares, right? And anything new is now pushed to super rare. There's 2 new super rares, most likely. Or I can see them just being from the actual set as well. And then the Majestics, we go 4 armor pieces, and then 9. That leaves 9. So that means 3, right? 3 sets of Majestics, 4 equipments. I would also say one of them could just be the hero, right? And then similar to Gravy, he has 1 inset card as well. In fact, yeah, I'd probably be happier guessing that. Right, so it's 1 hero, 3 equipment, and then 3 Majestics, and then 2 super rares. And out of curiosity, how do we do this? I think I needed Inept Vengeance. Edgewater will do. Ira, Armory deck, there we are. Right, so Ira had 2 equipment pieces. 1 hero equivalent. Let's start lower. Yeah, there. Right, so 1 hero, 2 equipment, 2 Majestics? Yes. 3 Majestics. But 1 was a repeat. Right? And then in terms of new rares, we had Big Vengeance, Legacy, Take Vengeance. So yeah, so kind of similar, right? 3 rares, 3 majestics, 2 equipment, 1 hero. Versus 1 hero, 3 equipment, 3 majestics, 2 super rares. About the same level of new stuff. Maybe short 1 equipment piece. Well, actually, no. This is new. Yeah. It's so cool that we're getting, full sets of equipment that not only match, right? But, we're functionally pretty cool. This feels lackluster in comparison. Is the only gripe I have, right? Like even just matching boots, because this does match, right? It's obviously what she's wearing, which is cool. But maybe it should be majestic with slightly stronger. Aside from that, that's Playtest done. I think that's everything. Right, I think there's nothing else to really go over. It's always nice to, not assets, to check all the articles, not just the normal articles. Alright, this is the pre-release. Is there anything of interest? Event times, release kits, what they contain. They can sell leftovers, right? Order the armory decks along with it. I think that's all. Was it? It was tokens. Maybe the cold foil is just a random cold foil as well, right? Because there's 5 cold foils in there, and that's just your promo, your random promo. Because what was it? It was the 4 pieces and a rainbow foil weapon, right? For high seas. Either way, I'll do it. Let's weirdly open some magic, I suppose. And if we get anything good, we'll probably just use it towards Fab. Ooh. Wakey wakey. There we go. Alright. Very, very old magic packs. I think I ordered them in terms of pricing, right? Well, I think they get good from Vision, from memory, in terms of top hits. Oh, God, I can't play them all out. I'll do. So, yeah. Essentially, because I used to have Magic Framed, right? So, obviously not the real early stuff. Alright, Alpha, Beta. I think I opened a revised pack not too long ago. Maybe last year, right? And then no Arabian Nights. All the other ones. And then missing the Urza Saga. So from Urza Saga onwards is the sets, right? And they're nice little triplets. But let's see what's in them. I think Portal was better than Stronghold, right? The Imperial Seal is still higher. So yeah, even just one of these has a hit. And that's super cool. But we'll do them in order. I don't think I have the brain to remember what's good, even the ordering. So I'll probably take this slow. In fact, you know what? I'll open TCG Player so we can do this properly. Fact. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. Alright. So we're starting off with Cold Snap. So, hi, hello. We are looking for a Thrumming Stone. That one I should have known. Thrumming Stone was in the Double Masters, wasn't it? Bear with me. I'm just going to open them all, because then I don't have to worry about it. How many packs do we have? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. Ah, screw it. We'll do one by one. No, don't worry about time. So, Cold Snap. The first three are definitely not a rough choice. They're mainly just there for the framing. Alright. Suppose, is there any commons or anything that I should care about? It probably is. I haven't played Magic in years. It's hard for me to know. Goblin Rim Runner. So I assume that's just a rare, right? From the looks of it. God, it is nice to throw back though. Alright. I guess we'll just go through them all. If I miss something, I miss something, right? So, Frost Raptor, Disciple of Tevesh Savat, Snow Covered Forest, Goblin Rim Rummer. I said that horribly. No, that's. God, I can't even remember when they started doing the colored symbols. Outrider, Surging Aether, Rite of Flame, Beast of Flesh, Martyr of the Frost, Swift Maneuverer, Into the North, Phyrexian Ironfoot. Actually, there you go, these two are colored. That is our uncommon. Yeah, gotta switch my brain. Our Gargoyle, another uncommon. And Research, another uncommon. And I would assume that is golden, right? The symbol. Very, very uncolored. And our Woolly Razorback. So did you get 3 uncommons in these packs? Interesting. Nothing on this first page. I would assume we didn't hit anything. You know what? I'll keep the. No, because I'll end up going through the cards one by one. You know, editing wise, if I do want to turn this into a video, I think that's actually easier for me because I can put something. Yeah, I can put it down the bottom. Yeah, screw it. All right, we're on Ice Age. So another sort of a stud. All right, Updraft, Lure. Do like the oldish art though. Essence Vortex, Glacial Crevices, Something of the Dead. Oh, Circle of Protections. They ring a bell. Let's see. I would assume it's a reprint though. I like how I do green and they all come up. Not the alpha. I do. No, you know what? Do Ice Age. Alright. Now at least we know. We see anything from this first page. Bone Shaman. Guard, Snowfall, Fetish. Sons of the Dam though, from my mono black deck. That I definitely know. Errantry. A Woolly Mammoth. Shield Bearer. And a Grizzled Wolverine. So, I don't think so. I know we didn't hit a land. That's for sure. Alright, Portal's next. And it looks like these are more legible colors. Stone Rain. Fire Snake. Nature's Law. Giant Spiner. Hulking Cyclops. Antuus. Interesting. I didn't know they had full tip cards. Alabaster Dragon. Venerable Monk. Virtue's Ruin. Elite Cat Warrior. Bog Raiders. Dead Fastness. Interesting. Raging Cougar. And an Old Familiar. There's a lot of discrepancy in the text. No, they're all bolden. I guess it's just very different seeing it in like this, right? The newer cards. Alright, Portal Second Age. Now, Obliviousness is fun. But I'm pretty sure I can recognize the real big hits. Alright, Goblin Raider, False Summoning, Bear Cub, Raiding Night Stalker, Tidal Surge, Golden Bear, Blessing, Warrior, Night Stalker, Deep Wood, Goblin Law, Just Fate, Swamp, and a Mountain. So I'd assume these are too old, right? Because every symbol is black. So if I had to guess, what would be the rare? Not enough text, essentially. Or perhaps there's a chance there's not. Nothing really jumps out. Just lightly reading the effects either. Draw 4 cards and put them into your hand, and discard 3 cards at random from your hand. I do like a goblin deck. Just Fate seems kind of cool. Alright, Weatherlight. So I'm pretty sure from here on out, there's some substantial big hits. I wish I had my phone, because my phone is so much easier, right? Just using the Mana Box app. Why? God. Oh, because there's Weatherlight in its name. Because March of the Machine came up. Do you want Goblin Bomb? Sorry, I'm thinking about what I want. We want hits, so that we can convert them to fab. Weatherlight. Give me Drake. In horror. Why is that not capitalized? Interesting. In horror. Sentry. Knight. Fire Whip. Goblin Vandal. Deucer. Mana Chains. You really have upkeeps, that's interesting. Heavy Ballista. Fact. Bitter Rage. Abyssal Gatekeeper. Merfolk Traders. I'm pretty sure we're just on the lookout for old lands, more so than anything. I don't think. Wait, did I say Sentry or Serenity? Serenity. Destroy during upkeep, bury all artifacts and equipment. That's actually kind of cool. I think that's the big one. Well, it's definitely a rare. Alright, Visions. Drake. Chimera. Relic Ward. You may choose play Relic Ward as an instant if you do bury it and end the turn. Enchanted artifacts cannot be the target of spells or effects. That's actually kind of nice. Ah, a ring. Majestic Lion. Sorry, I'm always fascinated by the animal cards. Rockslide, River Boa, and Dark Privilege. So I would assume the Relic, right? Was it Relic Ward? And that effect does not seem as nice. What are we looking for? Again, mostly lands. Nah, nothing stands out. Alright. Alliance Peak. For an unlikely alliance. It's an easy card to Google. Like a Dead. Stagion, Spirit Guide, Misfortune, Ride, Glider, Edos, Ancients, Legacy, Crow, and no Like the Dead. we have any discoloring? We can tell the goddamn rares. Probably not. And again, still no land. Right? Alright, Tempest. Capsize, Aura, Tranquility, Gravedigger, Kindle, Justice, Sliver, Giant, Crown of Flames. Chant creature gets +1/+0. Crown of Flames so it's on his hand. Interesting. Gaseous Form, Wild Womb, Field of Souls, a Wind Dancer. Alright, Exodus. Troll, Bending Druid, Counts, Rage, Troops. Workhorse. Well, that's our rare. I don't think Workhorse is great. Let's see. Workhorse. Of course, it's one word. Why is the list more expensive than Exodus? That's funny. Alright. But these three proper, right? So Mirage. God, I can't remember its name. Diamond. Yeah, Lionized Diamond. Lionized Diamond. Stronghold. Mox Diamond. So basically just looking for Diamond. And then either Zodiac Dragon or Imperial Seal, right? For Portal. Portal's the big one. Actually, yeah. APAC. Alright. For Mirage, Domain, Infantry, Gaia, Griffin, Salve, Bone Harvest, Knights, Dark Ritual's kind of cool. Early School Dark Ritual. Fog, Circle, Feeblement, Carrion, Horrible Hordes, Vex, and a Djinn. No Diamond. Oh well. Alright. Mox Diamond. Or Sliver. Flame Wave. Hornet Cannon. Wall of Essence. Mud Warper. Spike. Nada. Nada. Rush with Dead. I need to not get invested in the cards because I've already pieced apart all my decks. Mind Games. Basilisk. And a Shock. Also nada. Alright, lucky last. 10-pack Portal. I also don't know the ordering. Suppose any troop, we'll say, is also pretty decent. Not that troop. 3 visits. Variety. Cavalry. Zodiac Rat. Pig. Hero Recruiter. Potentially. All the creatures get +1/+1 as long as he is in play. But I think nada. I think all the packs slightly amiss. Although if we're at this point, I might as well just continue cracking leftover stuff I have. Because generally speaking, again, the idea is I'm just going to piece it apart, right? And convert it to Magic as we go. Not convert it, yeah. Sorry. Convert it to Fab as we go. Oh, Pig is actually our rare from the looks. Let's see. Oh yeah, Zodiac Pig's not bad. Swamp Walk. Alright. Too bad there. Oh, white border. Let me rummage around for a second. If I have anything else. Oh, meh. Nothing crazy. Left. Skravnica. And the other one. Plus. Sorry. Oh. This was a bad idea. Anyway, we talked about the new stuff. Go watch the Australian Nationals, right?